Hello and welcome to this webinar looking at the first steps of using BIMcloud as a service, setting up the teams and projects, and working collaboratively in ArchiCAD Teamwork. For anyone unfamiliar with BIMcloud, it's a solution that allows a design team, or multiple teams, to collaborate live on a design project. BIMcloud ensures secure real-time collaboration between the project team members, regardless of the size or complexity of the project, and you can work from anywhere with an internet connection. There are different BIMcloud solutions available depending on your requirements and way of working. BIMcloud Basic, formerly BIM Server, is designed for studios working collaboratively within the confines of the local network. BIMcloud as a Service is designed for teams working collaboratively in the cloud. Being cloud-based and being offered as a service, it avoids the need to secure, confine, and maintain your own server or cloud-based solution. It offers a number of benefits additional to those in BIMcloud Basic. This includes the ability to act as a store for other files associated with the Teamwork project, such as XREF DWGs, attached PDFs, or linked IFC files. ArchiCAD can read these directly from the BIMcloud, so they always remain available and up to date along with the Teamwork project. BIMcloud as a service also includes hierarchical permissions. Each team member can be assigned a global level of permissions in accessing the BIMcloud Manager and for working within the project. But permissions can also be granted for each individual project, each project team, or even at subfolder level. During this webinar, we will be focusing on BIMcloud as a service, including some of the options for setting up roles and permissions for the design teams. Let's take a look at the setup and management of the BIMcloud as a service using BIMcloud Manager. This interface is browser-based, so you can log in anywhere with an internet connection. I'm signing in with the admin account, so we should see all aspects of the setup after logging in. However, if you sign in without sufficient access rights, then you may not be able to edit all of this or even view some of it. The home page gives us access to various aspects of the BIMcloud, including the projects, users, and roles. The project section gives access to the management of the current Teamwork projects. The users section allows you to create or edit the list of team members who can log into the BIMcloud Manager, as well as the Teamwork projects themselves. And the roles section controls the individual access rights of each team member or group of team members. To start creating our list of team members, let's click on the Users section. This list currently displays all users and also various groups of users. To simplify things for now, let's filter the list to only show the individual users. Click the plus next to the user's header and choose the option to create a user. Here we need to input the name of the user, the login name, and confirm their password. The user will be able to reset their password later on. We will also need to store their email address before saving the new user details, so they can receive any emails from the BIMcloud, including the password reset. Here we can also upload a photo of the user if we need to, and also select a colour which will be used to highlight this user's workspace in ArchiCAD later on. Note that if you're migrating from another BIMcloud, you can export the users from that setup and import them into BIMcloud as a service. After creating the new users, we also need to set their permissions levels, which are defined according to their roles. To jump to the Roles section of the BIMcloud Manager, either select it through the drop-down menu at the top of the page or by returning to the home screen. Here we can see there are already some examples of roles which are automatically created with any new BIMcloud as a service activation. Each of these roles has a detailed list of permissions that can be enabled or restricted for that particular job role or level of seniority across the organisation. The name of these groups and each of these permissions can be edited by clicking on the Edit button next to that section of settings. To create a completely new role, click on the plus icon. These roles really fall under two categories: management roles, which allow a user to sign into the BIMcloud Manager interface, as we're looking at now, and manage the user's roles and projects, and also the ArchiCAD roles, which control the design, editing, and documentation in the ArchiCAD projects. Note that there are lots of ways that these permissions can be assigned to the users, so we will look at some of these examples. To keep things simple to start with, I will globally assign the lead architect role to the new user across all projects. In the project section of the BIMcloud Manager, we can see a list of all of the current projects, all project folders, and also the ArchiCAD libraries. And to set the permission across all of these, we can select the top level in the hierarchy and go to the Access settings. Here, start typing the name of the user, select them from the search list, and choose their required role. And to store this, click Save. Note that separate or additional access rights can be selected for a user against each project or subfolder, again by entering their required role in the Access section for that particular project or folder. However, when we have a larger design team, we don't want to have to customize these permissions individually for every person. Instead, we can define these groups of multiple team members and allocate permissions for those entire groups in one go. The groups are also managed through the Users page on the BIMcloud Manager, and the filter at the top lets us show only the groups, with the plus icon being used to create new groups where needed. I'm going to add the new user to the lead architects group, so we don't need to allocate this role individually. And if I now return to the user's settings, the interface will list any groups that this team member is a part of, as well as the option to add to further groups as required. And note that this user will receive the total combination of all of the permissions across all of the groups that they've been added to. These ArchiCAD groups give access to various design and documentation aspects of the teamwork project in ArchiCAD, but the management groups here are also important. The Project Manager role allows the creation and management of projects on BIMcloud, and the server administrator has full access to everything. These allow access not only to the projects, but also the settings on the users and role pages of the BIMcloud Manager. And without those permissions, I won't be able to see or edit those settings here now. So how are the roles defined for these groups? These behave in the same way as defining a role for an individual user, as I did previously, in the access settings next to any project or folder in the BIMcloud Manager. Here, for example, we can see the lead architect group has been given the lead architect's role at the top level of the project section. For the management roles, these might be allocated on different pages of the BIMcloud Manager. Once the team has been set up on the BIMcloud, they can get started on the BIMcloud project. Just before we get started on a project, let's take a quick look at the project snapshots. These allow you to automatically create backups of your project at regular intervals. The teamwork project snapshots are stored on the BIMcloud, and the PLN snapshots can be saved to alternative locations for extra security. Users will be prompted to export these PLN backups when they're due through the ArchiCAD interface. And these snapshots give you an option to undo recent changes to the project and return to earlier design iterations. You might also want to store additional snapshots for the project manually at key design stages. Okay, so now let's take a look at creating a new project. I'm going to sign back into the BIMcloud as the new user. As I have the project management role, I can still sign into the BIMcloud Manager, although I won't have access to everything. Some of the management pages are hidden and the list of users is restricted to my own details. However, this role does give me access to the projects. Before sharing the project to the rest of the design team, we need to create a folder structure. and that will give us somewhere to upload the project to. Here we can click the plus and create a new BIMcloud project. And this lets us create a self-contained folder structure for the project with additional project-specific permissions. Within this BIMcloud project, we can then create any required subfolders, including folders for the ArchiCAD Teamwork project itself and other referenced files such as DWGs and PDFs, and any models for external parties such as IFC files from structural engineers, as well as folders for exporting drawing transmittals to from ArchiCAD. I'm now ready to share the project with the rest of the design team to work on collaboratively. We can share a project at any stage when we're ready to upload it for anyone else to join in. And here I have an example of a project that I've been working on, which is already open in ArchiCAD. To share the project, use the option through the Teamwork menu. We can sign in, entering the location of the BIMcloud, our username and password. And if we have sufficient access rights as defined by the roles that we've just been looking at, then we can proceed with sharing the project. This gives us the hierarchy of the folders, and we can see the folders that we have access to, so we can select the correct location to upload the project. We may also need to upload the object libraries to BIMcloud, and the Libraries button will display a full list of any object libraries used within this project, and any required actions for each. As this project is only using the standard ArchiCAD libraries, which I've already uploaded, these will automatically be linked to this project and no further action is needed. For any other project-specific libraries, they will be uploaded at this stage alongside the project. First, ArchiCAD will upload the project and any libraries to the BIMcloud. Once it's uploaded, we will join the project and it will be copied to our local cache on the current workstation. The time for this to complete will be dependent on the size of the project and the speed of your internet connection. Now the project is live, other team members can join the project through the option in the File menu or the Teamwork menu. And if we bring up the Teamwork palette, it will display a list of all current users, along with other actions such as the instant messaging options. We have given our internal design team access to the project through the BIMcloud Manager, but there might also be times when we want external teams to have limited access, for example, for consultants to upload their files for our reference. And this can be controlled through project-specific teams. I'm going to sign back into BIMcloud Manager with the full admin rights and set up a new team to allow, in this case, surveyors to upload their drawings. As before, we will need to create the new users and enter the username, password, and email address for each. But this time, I'm not going to add them to any groups or define any global permissions for them, as I don't want them to have access to all projects. Instead, I will give them specific permissions only for our new project at a folder level. And to create the permissions for this team, we can return to the roles page. I'll create a general role for the purpose of uploading documentation from external consultants, and I'll only give them permission to certain management roles. In this case, it will allow them access to specific folders, to modify the details of those folders, and to upload to them. And finally, we'll choose which folders the surveyors will be able to access and upload to. On the projects page, when we select this BIMcloud project, there is an additional settings page for these project-specific teams to be defined. Here we'll create a team for the surveyors. And we'll add our new user to this team. We can add more users to this team later on as we need to. I'm only going to give this team access to one particular subfolder, in this case the Surveyor folder, so they can upload their drawings here. In the access settings for this folder, we'll add the new team and allocate the new role we created for the external consultants. Now we're ready for the surveyor to upload their drawings. I'm now going to log back into the BIMcloud Manager, but this time as the surveyor. And as we'll see, this time we'll only get a very limited access to certain parts of the BIMcloud Manager. They'll be able to browse through the folders to the survey folder in our current project. They'll be able to upload and view the files that already exist within these folders. So here I'm going to select a survey drawing and upload it to this survey folder. Once these files have finished uploading, our design team will be able to access these. Our architects will now be able to reference the survey drawings when they need to. I'm still logged into the Teamwork project back in ArchiCAD, and I'm going to attach the survey drawing to the project as an XREF directly from the BIMcloud. This is done with the usual options underneath the external content menu. Note that as I'm now working in the Teamwork environment, I first need to reserve the worksheet where I'm attaching the XREF and the XREF manager, which will allow us access to those functions. When browsing for the file, we'll choose the option to link it from the BIMcloud rather than choosing a local file. Here I'll select the drawing and attach it. After attaching the XREF, I also need to ensure the reference layers are now visible. The same process can be used when referencing other models such as IFC files, which can be also uploaded to the BIMcloud and hot linked into our Teamwork project. Similarly, when publishing drawings from our project, we can save transmittals directly to the BIMcloud and similarly give access to particular individuals and teams to download them from that BIMcloud location. I've now finished setting up this project and we're ready for other team members to join in. I'll make sure that I click Release All, which means I'll no longer have any elements or settings dialogues reserved within this project, and other team members will be able to take those on. And by pressing Sending and Receive All, ArchiCAD now compares my local cache of this Teamwork project with the live version on the BIMcloud, and it synchronises just those changes. Now let's take a look back at that project on the BIMcloud itself, and I'll sign back in as admin. We'll take a look at the projects folder again, and we're able to view the ArchiCAD project that we've been working on, and also any of the external content that's linked to that project. Maybe at this stage we also want to create a snapshot of this project, and that means that we're able to get back to that when we need to. We can go to the Snapshots page and click Create. And we can give a name to this particular stage of the project. At any point, we can now roll back to this particular version of the project, or access it in terms of just checking the changes between this and the latest drawing issue. So thank you for joining us for this webinar, and hope that's been useful in giving you an understanding of how to get started with using BIMcloud and setting that up for your own use. If you do have any questions, or if you do need any help in getting set up, please do drop us a message and there is an option to type a message into this webinar facility. Alternatively, get in contact with us afterwards and we'll be able to give you some more specific guidance. So thanks again.